Hello everyone, welcome to a Piston Door Terminologies video. Today we're going to talk about seamless, and this is recorded as of 1st of August 2024. So to discuss seamless, let's talk about the definition of seamless, and this is taken from the door regulation documentation, section 2.1 DI. So the first statement states that generally a door is seamless if you can't tell if it's there inside the hallway. So we call this a visual principle. So if you cannot see anything in the hallway, resting components, then we call it seamless. But then we want to be more rigorous on our statement. So hence comes the second statement. And specifically, seamless doors must match the type's hallway composition, i.e. no circuitry is visible inside the hallway. So we will talk about composition a bit later. And the third statement is related to the next slide. So the operations or states this condition is followed determines the tier of seamless. And as we will see, there are actually 4 tiers of seamlessness. The lowest tier being the quad seamless, it only requires no circuitry on the front side of closed door blocks visible inside the hallway. The upper tier would be semi-seamless, which additionally requires from quad seamless that there must be no circuitry visible inside the hallway when opened. And then the upper tier would be full seamless. This time it requires no circuitry and no entities visible inside the hallway when opened and when closed. And of course, when closed, it also implies on the front side of closed door blocks. And the highest tier would be super seamless. It requires no circuitry and no entities visible inside the hallway when opened, when closed, during the opening, and during the closing. So that is the definition of seamless. And before we discuss deeper into the concept of seamless, let's actually take a look at some examples to consolidate our idea on seamlessness. Okay, so we have logged into the Minecraft world. So let's look at 4 doors and to examine their seamlessness. And for the context of this, we are all assuming a standard door composition, which we'll discuss a bit later. So the first door is this very standard 2x2 jeb door, essentially. And our hallway would be extended to something like this. For illustration, like this, yeah. And by taking a look at the open state, we already see sticky pistons on the side of the hallway. And under the standard hallway composition, this would mean that this door is not seamless when opened. But then what about the door when closed? On the front side, it will be seamless, of course, because we can only see quartz-like blocks. But then on the back side, we actually see sticky pistons within the hallway. So this door would only satisfy the definition of quartz seamless. So, yeah, and no other seamlessness tiers can it satisfy except quartz seamless. And next, we will look at this example. Now, we already see here that this door is seamless when opened, because unlike this 2x2 jeb door, there are no pistons inside the door frame blocks. So it is seamless when open. What about when closed? When closed, these 4 blocks, are the door blocks we want. So on the front side is also seamless. We don't see any circuitry. But then on the back side, we actually see holes here. And we also see pistons here as well. So unfortunately, on the back side, it is not seamless. And hence, this would satisfy quad seamless, of course, and also a higher tier, which is semi-seamless, which only states that this door has to be seamless when opened and on the front side when closed. So this is a semi-seamless 2x2 full flush piston door. Next, we take a look at this example. Now again, we already see that this door is seamless when the door is opened. Now let's close the door. You will see that it's of course seamless on the front side, and what about the back side? It's actually also seamless. The pistons are pushed down to here such that you cannot see them. So there are also no circuitry on the back side, and hence, besides quartz and semi-seamless, this door attains the full seamless title. And also just to mention, all of these three doors that we discuss here are not super seamless. The reason is pretty intuitive, because when you close any of these three doors, you would always be able to see at a certain time points that there are sticky pistons visible inside the hallway, at least when you look at the backside. So unfortunately, none of these three doors are super seamless. And now we look at this final door. So this door again is seamless when the door is opened. So let's use commands. Again, when the door is closed, we actually see no circuitry on the front side. About the back side, we actually also see no circuitry on the back side. So this door at least is full seamless already. But then we can actually look even further, is that we can look at whether the door is super seamless. So if we tailor at the closing again, there are no visible redstone components on the opening. Also no. What about on the back side? Now the back side, there are actually these four covering pistons that would do the job like this. So on the closing, even though these pistons are pushed out, these four blocks have closed the hallway such that you cannot see the sticky pistons being pushed inside the hallway. So it is seamless during the closing. And what about the opening? The same thing happens. The pistons are pushed inside the hallway, but then these covering blocks block our view such that we cannot see the sticky pistons being pushed inside the hallway. So this is also seamless during the opening on the backside, and hence this attains the highest seamless title, super seamless. So here we have already examined all four tiers of seamless. So the quartz seamless, the semi-seamless, the full seamless, and the super seamless. And these are going to be all the four door examples illustrated by 2x2 full flush door. And now let's head back to our presentation. Okay, so now we take a deeper look at seamless. So the first thing we want to discuss is the tier implication. We talk about four tiers of seamless: quartz, semi, full, super seamless. And actually, there is a pretty neat implication, and which is that super seamless would imply full seamless. It also would imply semi-seamless, and semi-seamless would imply quartz seamless. And this is a bit overlooked. Quartz seamless would also imply not seamless, which is basically no seamless regulations at all. So yeah, and note that this implication only works one way, because as we have seen in our previous slide, the restriction is additive. So the higher the tier of seamlessness, the more restrictive it gets. So it only works in one way and not the other. So full seamless would definitely not imply super seamless, but super seamless would imply full seamless, etc., etc. So yeah, so that is the tier implication of seamlessness. But then, although we talk about super, full, semi, quad seamless, piston door makers don't usually use these terms because in a normal conversation, we don't usually present our piston door titles or have conversations that rigorously. So hence we need to also know the common practices of piston door makers when they talk about seamlessness. So the first thing to note is that we would use the word seamless in door titles or in conversations to describe our doors depending on the door type. So there are two cases. If the door is a standard piston door, which means the door shape is a one wide, non-flush, square or rectangular shape piston door, then when we say seamless in door title, we actually mean full seamless. But if it is not a standard piston door like this, we only mean semi-seamless. So that's the first common practice. And the second common practice is that if we do not specify, all piston doors are actually at least quad seamless. You barely see any doors that cannot even satisfy the quad seamless title. And this also has an implication. So when we use the phrase not seamless in door titles, we don't actually mean not seamless as in no seamless regulations. We actually mean quad seamless. So we at least expect any piston doors that we create to be quad seamless, basically. So that's the common practices of seamless when you communicate or use in door titles. So yeah. Now, as promised, I will talk about the definition of composition, but at an introductory level, because composition can be a bit more involved to understand fully. So hallway composition is defined in section 2.1 BIV. So composition of hallway when both closed and open. So the first statement states that door frame defaults to quartz-like blocks if not specified. And the second statement states that blocks within the hallway defaults to air blocks when opened. And combining these two statements, we actually call it the standard hallway composition. Now, from this definition, we actually don't really see that much of an insight on what hallway composition actually means. So we should also look at some interpretation of the definition of composition. So composition can be interpreted as a combination of the default state of door frame blocks and hallway blocks. So one has to define, basically, how they intend their piston door to behave, basically, by defining the hallway composition. And as a matter of fact, different compositions result in different categories. So if a piston door has an intended composition that does not match with the same piston door, but with a different composition, these two doors actually cannot be compared directly. They are two separate categories. So there you go. And because as we have seen in the seamless definition, it has to match the types hallway composition. So how you define the composition actually affects the seamlessness of a piston door. So just give you two illustration examples. So if one defines a composition to include pistons as door frame blocks, which sounds weird, but it actually exists. Even though redstone components are visible within the hallway because you have pistons as door frame blocks, the door can still attain seamless titles. And one example would be the 2x2 jet door that we just examined, and I say that it is quad seamless under the standard composition because it is only seamless on the front side when closed. But then, if we use the right image to define the composition of this door, we can actually say that this 2x2 jet door is semi-seamless under this composition. So you see, the differences in defining the composition can affect the seamless tiers of a piston door, even though it's exactly the same door. And another example, it is less of a seamless example, but then to illustrate how compositions actually behave in actual examples, more applicable examples would be, for example, a standard 2x2 sand door. So the closed composition is pretty straightforward. It's just basically 4 sand blocks. But then when the door is open, there are 2 common compositions. The first one would be there is visible sand on the floor, because you can. Because if you remove the sand on the floor, it would probably take more circuitry. And hence, some 2x2 sand doors actually have visible sand during when the door is open. Versus, of course, no visible sand. So you do use some circuitry to push out the sand blocks to leave out only quartz-like blocks as your door frame blocks. And these 2 compositions, they result in different categories and cannot be directly compared to each other. So hopefully you understand more about compositions at an introductory level. And now we have entered the final discussion of seamlessness. Now, recall that seamlessness actually has an entity regulation, and that's for super seamless and full seamless. They require no entities visible within the hallway in their respective scenarios. So we say no entities visible within the hallway. And what do you mean by visible? So the visibility is determined by visual hitbox, at least that's the common consensus, and not FreeB hitbox nor interaction hitbox. So we'll give you an example. There are some doors that have armor stand within the hallway, and the left image shows the FreeB hitbox, which obviously you see it is within the hallway space. But then we are not concerned of the FreeB hitbox. We are only concerned of the visual hitbox, which we see on the right image that the armor stand, none of its visual hitbox can be seen inside the hallway space. And hence, we can call this, seamless when open. So that's a key point to note on entity regulation. We only care about the visual hitbox under common consensus. So, yeah. And that's all for the seamless terminology. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.